Hi everyone, in this lesson we're finally going to start doing some actual calculations in our code. You learned about arithmetic operators and now it's time to put them into practice. Lesson by lesson we'll learn different operators and make our programs more complex. We'll start with the basic math operators you've known since school. Pause the video and try to solve all of these exercises on your own first. Then continue watching the video to see how I solve them. Exercise 1. You're buying several identical bottles of water. The user enters the price of one bottle and the number of bottles. Calculate the total cost of the purchase and print it to the screen. Example, this. First, we ask the user to enter the price of one bottle. I decided to use dollars here. We create a variable of type double because the user might enter a price that includes cents. Next, we ask the user to enter the number of bottles. We create a variable for it and the user enters the value. After that, we create a variable that will store the total price of all the bottles. To calculate the total price, we multiply the price of one bottle by the number of bottles. This is the first time we are using the multiplication operator. Then I print the total price to the screen. Let's run the program and take a look. Exercise 2. You come to a store with a certain amount of money and buy one item. The user enters how much money they had and the price of the item. Calculate how much money is left after the purchase. For example, this. First, we need to enter the amount of money we have and then the price of the item. You should keep in mind that the user could enter negative values or enter a price that's higher than the amount of money they have. But we haven't learned how to handle those kinds of errors yet, so for now we'll assume that the user always enters valid values. After getting the input, it's pretty easy to calculate how much money is left. We simply subtract the price of the item from the amount of money we have. Then we print the result to the screen. Let's run the program. Exercise 3. A group of friends wants to split a box of candies equally. The user enters the number of candies, the number of friends. You need to calculate how many candies each person gets, how many candies are left over, for example, like this. First, we let the user enter the number of candies and the number of friends. Then we need to do some calculations. Since we're working with the type int, the fractional part is simply discarded when we divide. So if we have 20 candies and 3 friends, each friend will get 6 candies because the division operator will return 6 here. Now we just need to calculate how many candies are left. We could take the total number of candies and subtract the number each friend gets multiplied by the number of friends. So with 20 candies, we would subtract 18. But there is an easier way. We can use the modulo operator because it gives us the remainder after division. With 20 candies and 3 friends, it will return 2. Then we print all this information to the screen. Let's run the program. Exercise 4. You're writing a small program to calculate a basketball player's score. The user enters the number of free throws made, the number of 2-point shots made, and the number of 3-point shots made. First, calculate the number of points scored from each type of shot separately, and then gradually add them together to get the total score. Here we have more data to work with. So first, we enter the number of shots of every type that were made. Next, I create constants that represent how many points each type of shot is worth. I could skip these constants, but then we'd be using the numbers 1, 2, and 3 directly in our calculations, and another programmer might wonder what those numbers actually mean. In programming, values like these are often called magic numbers because their meaning may be not obvious. To avoid that, we can simply create constants with clear names that explain what those numbers represent. Next, I use a simple formula to calculate how many points the player scored from each type of shot. There's nothing complicated here either. After that, we need to add all the points together and store the result in a new variable. Finally, we print all the values to the screen. Let's run the program. Exercise 5. You're developing a timer. The user enters a total number of seconds, and the program should determine how many full minutes there are and how many seconds are left over. For example, the user enters seconds, the program prints minutes and seconds left. For this, use division operator to get the number of full minutes and modulo operator to get the remaining seconds. Create a constant for the number of seconds in 1 minute and use it. This is also a relatively simple exercise. First, we enter the number of seconds, then we create a clearly named constant that represents the number of seconds in 1 minute. After that, just like we calculated how many candies each friend gets, we calculate how many full minutes there are in that number of seconds and how many seconds are left over. For example, let's say we have 500 seconds. 500 divided by 60 gives us 8. So there are 8 full minutes in 500 seconds. Now we need to calculate the remainder. 500 modulo 60 gives us 20. So 500 seconds in 8 minutes is 8 minutes and 20 seconds. And that's it for this lesson. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the exercises and managed to solve at least some of them on your own. I'll see you in the next lesson.